Hello, everybody. Our guest on this segment is Shelly Kantor with Groups Recover Together. Shelly, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Good to have you here.
Good to be here.
A little bit about groups. Tell us about it.
Okay, Groups is an outpatient substance use treatment, and we focus on opiate addiction right now, or opiate use disorder. And I like to say our motto is on trust, not blame, and science, not willpower. So we have been in Claremore now since the 1st of November is when we opened, and things are going well. So we have myself, I'm a licensed alcohol and drug and mental health counselor, and we have an office coordinator that's also going to be a case manager. And we have a provider that we work with for the medication side of the treatment.
Are you statewide?
We are just in Claremore currently, but we have hopes of expanding to other communities as well. But Groups itself started in 2014. We now are in 8 states and over 50 locations. So we're nationwide as far as our outlets. We go everywhere from Maine to California. So we're the first ones to come to Oklahoma, and we hope to expand.
So get your toe in the water, or at least Oklahoma waters, here in the Claremore area.
Yes.
I hear a lot of talk as of late. We're taping this particular show on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
And I mentioned to you before we started that this morning I was watching the Today Show, and they were talking about a drug company that's already in hot water. Because what they've done now, in addition to the other things they're looking at them for, is they put together a rap video that would be used to get their salespeople to put more pressure on physicians to carry their brand of whatever. Opiates are included.
Sure.
You guys are fighting a real battle out there.
We are. I think that one of the reasons we came to Rogers County, and Claremore in particular, was because of the need, the lack of support in this area. But one thing that is in the works right now is that legislation on monitoring and just restricting the prescription of opiates. So with that in mind, it's more of a, risk management and harm reduction is what we're also focusing on. With that said, it's when those regulations happen and the prescribers are not able to give more than, say, 7 days of a prescription, and then they cut them off, the patients, then they're more apt to go out and look for other kind of drugs or seek those same drugs on the street, or even worse, transfer over to, say, heroin use. So that's where we come in, and we don't want to see that happen.
I'm hoping that some members of the legislature that worked on this may have had medical training. Maybe were doctors. Is there anything to that?
You know, I'm not sure, but I know that other states have put that into practice to help with that opiate epidemic. And, you know, it has to start there. You know, not over-prescribing and monitoring that. Because if somebody gets prescriptions, say, post-surgery, are they continue to be monitored with support, regular checkups, and help the other sides of that
Are you all comfortable with the legislation as it's proposed right now?
I was just learning more at a seminar the other day about what that might look like. Now, I think we'll be more comfortable with those changes when those restrictions take place. But I think that support needs to be in the communities to help those people that have been on, say, opiates for quite some time and may experience that withdrawal. So without that in place to help them recover from that, then they're likely to go out and use something that is not prescribed that's more dangerous.
We have a serious problem in this country. I mean, we've got a problem already with heroin, with cocaine, with all kinds of freaky drugs being floated about that people are buying into. But now you're looking at problems from prescription drugs. And I mean, it would seem to me that legislation should include close medical supervision on the part of the doctors that prescribe them in the first place for post-operative situations. Now, you recently underwent surgery. My granddaughter went through surgery. And it's, in our talks before we came out here, sounds to me like we both of our families employed the same direction. In other words, get me out of here, get me off of this as quickly as possible.
And I think one of the problems is, and I've talked to other people in the community, and for example, someone that's a business owner here had been taking pain pills for quite some time pre-surgery. So say 6 months, just to regulate that pain. Post-surgery, felt like, okay, I've been taking them, I'm doing rehab, things are better, I need to go ahead and stop these. And whittled himself down, tried to wean himself off, with some support from the doctors, but not enough. And when he got to the end and he was down to a minimal amount, he started experiencing symptoms like a flu. So aches and pains and sweating and nausea. And his daughter's in the medical field, and she said, well, Dad, you're experiencing withdrawals. So, you need to get some more help for this. And I think that enlightened himself on what can actually happen and what happens when they're overprescribed. So that's where we like to come in. And for instance, it can happen to anybody. Here's a business owner in the community that was affected by that. So that long-term opiate use and then trying to come off of it, sometimes people can benefit from medication to help that transfer. And it also allows them to not go out and seek other drugs that maybe aren't prescribed to help manage that withdrawal, because it can be extremely harmful to somebody, emotionally and physically. So in order to feel okay and feel normal, they may go out and buy some drugs on the street just to feel okay. So with us, we look at that medical side and the emotional side. So we provide that medication-assisted treatment as well the group therapy. And that's where I come in. And we have a provider that comes in and meets with them at least one time on that initial visit. And then she sits in on the groups at least once a month and comes and monitors their medication on a regular basis.
Is it covered by insurance?
Currently, we are a self-pay that's very affordable comparably to the market, as well as United Healthcare. We've just contracted with them. We have hopes for Blue Cross and Blue Shield in the near future, and Aetna and some other providers. Sooner Care, we should be in place in just a couple of months. So those things are coming along well too.
If you're like me, you hear, actually now we're bombarded with the opiate crisis in this country. I mean, it's everywhere.
It is.
And I don't think, that's one of those things that just kind of came up behind us all and said, gotcha. And people you would least expect are addicted.
Yes.
How do you get them off? What's the trick? Not trick, but what do you do? Intense counseling?
There is counseling. One of the things that makes us unique, it's not a new model, other people do it, so we're not creating something new, but we provide a very evidence-based, well-rounded practice. So we provide a community environment, and we work within the community. So part of what we focused on the last few months is building that outreach. So I can refer somebody to more stable mental health treatment if they need. If they are physically very sick, we can actually help place them into an inpatient treatment if that's what's needed. So linking and advocating for their overall care, I think is what's important. So it's not just saying, okay, you have to stop this medication, but providing that medication-assisted treatment for those withdrawals, but also that emotional support, that accountability factor with other people in the community that are recovering, so that they're not alone, people that understand, and that they can call upon for, that accountability factor.
It would seem you're dealing with a double-edged sword here, because on the one hand, they might come to you for treatment, but on the other, they can, you know what, I really liked where I was. I'll just do it a little bit and nobody will know. So you've got to combat it on two different fronts, don't you?
Sure, and we monitor that. So part of what they do, every time they come to a group, and they're required to meet with me at least once a week for group. If they don't show up, then they don't get another prescription. And it's only 7 days. So we don't give that 30-day supply and then they just come back the next month and get another prescription. They are monitored with urinary drug screens every week at group, and they have to attend group. If they test positive for other drugs, say benzodiazepine or say cocaine or other drugs, then we don't just kick them out, but we work with them on how are we going to get you not using those drugs specifically.
Shelly, I hate to do this, we're
That's
out
okay.
of time. Thank you for coming by.
You bet, thank you.
And keep us posted on the progress of groups.
I will.
We'd like to know more about it.
Absolutely.
All right,
Thank
you
you.
again. We're going to take a short break. You know, it's been said ideas are a dime a dozen. Making those ideas work is the goal of our next guest. We'll have that right after this.